Welcome to the Powerhouse Effect. I'm Amy Gregory, one of eXp Realty's top recruiters and the founder of Powerhouse, a national organization of over 800 agents built specifically for the solo female agent who is done leaving money on the table. Every episode, you're going to hear from real women who made the leap and never looked back. Today's guest is Mary Reed Durkin, and she went from 4 million in production to 8 million in production without working more hours, without sacrificing her life, and without doing it alone. And today it is her story. Mary Reed, welcome to the Powerhouse Effect. I can't wait to get into all things real estate related with you. I want to know, what was like your real estate business? What did it look like before Powerhouse? What did a typical week look like for you?
It was really different. I had three much younger kids. I started this at 45, like a crazy person, having no idea what I was doing. Why would that not be a great idea? Why would someone not just start a real estate business?
Obviously, in
Um,
your in all your spare time.
well, I had tons of that. Yeah, tons of that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Three kids. I was laughing thinking about it. Three kids in three schools.
Mhm.
That was a really super relaxing time.
Uh-huh.
And the schedule was not a problem. And it was a really old school traditional brick and mortar brokerage. So they wanted your butt in the seat.
Yeah.
So I also am a fitness instructor and have been for almost 20 years. So I teach and coach and train every morning of the week. So it was such an odd transition for me. And in real life, this is not how I come across or appear on camera. I often in fact, people don't know me in public if I have my hair down.
Look
But
at
I,
you, really getting fancy for us today, Mary Reed. You
well,
didn't need to do all that.
on camera, little shower never hurt anyone. But I did. I showed up. I would go straight to my office. They wanted your butt in the seat, so I would sit. I can remember. I was invited to help open an office in my community, so it was really flattering at the time, and people had asked me about doing it for years, and I thought, you know what, if I am going to do it, this would be a great fit. I didn't know differently. And truthfully, when I met with those guys, it was all about their name, their sign, their logo, all of these things that were going to build my business. And I didn't know to know that was wrong. And I also
Well,
they
it's probably not even necessarily wrong, right? Like they're building a business and they're
they're building
hiring
their
you.
business, right?
Yeah, they're hiring you, right? So like
Yeah.
you're doing about 4 million in production. Where were your leads coming from? Did like
All over the place. I can remember being introduced to some lenders, and it was also a one-stop shop kind of brokerage. So they encouraged you to only use their lenders. They encouraged you to only use their title, and all of that was in-house.
yeah.
So they would introduce you to, their little people, and they would say, "Hey, I bet Bobby's got a client out there who's looking for something," and they would try to partner you with people who already were in their pipeline, or they ran a really successful Zillow team, and because it was a huge corporate brokerage, so they had so much money to throw at that. So you would
Yeah.
start on the Zillow team. So I learned real estate by completely converting people. I had no idea who they were. And they could see a house at 9 o'clock on Friday night, 48 minutes
Mhm.
away. Relaxing, casual.
Right. I okay. Tell me, I have so many thoughts on all of it because tell me, what were your splits like?
So you started a 70/30, which even local brick and mortar brokerages thought was crazy. But this was
Like that they were giving the agent too much?
no, that like 30% seemed to be a lot to give. Other brokerages had a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
They assessed people in a wild way. They charged buyers and sellers an additional fee of $399 for every transaction, even if you were
Mm-hmm.
like a repeat, if you were buying and selling,
Hmm.
both charge it,
Like they had a transaction fee on every deal.
which no
Yeah.
one could really explain about exactly what that went toward. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a 70/30 split, but the interesting piece was that there were no other opportunities. There was no cap. There was no revenue
Yeah.
share. There was no stock option.
So, well, theoretically, if you're doing, I like to just run math on things. If you're doing 4 million in production, and let's just say you're running your deals at 3%, we all know you can charge whatever you'd like, asterisks.
That's right.
Noted. For the sake of the example, that would give you 120,000 in commissions, and then you're going to keep 70% of that, which puts you to 84,000. Um, and which is a great business. It's a great tool. Were
Right.
you having to pay for your Zillow leads?
Yeah, you pay a whatever kickback on that, right? So you have a 30% kickback to the office, and then you have a 35% kickback for the Zillow team.
So
So,
if like the Zillow team was all of your leads, we'll take 30, that means you're paying a 30 grand of the 85
right.
to Zillow leads, which then leaves you to what, 55,000? How many hours a week do you think you were working?
In the beginning, I was working quite a bit because I was learning what I should have been learning probably ahead of time. But
Well,
I spent,
there's not any way to learn it. Like I always think this is interesting. Like you have to have a mentor to some degree, right? Like real estate is one of these things where there's no cap on how much you can earn. There's not a ceiling, right? And people are willing to pay for medical school and law school because those are high. You have high income potential
right.
after those activities. And I think real estate's the same way. And you can kind of, I would say there's like you can check equity, like pay for schooling, or there's sweat equity where you can kind of go do the work at kind of a discounted rate, which is basically what you were doing at the
I
brick and
worked like a
mortar.
dog. Yeah, I worked like a dog. We were laughing about it. I was speaking with my oldest son. He was had just started high school when I started this crazy business, and he can remember. He was like, "Mom," he half homeschooled and half went to traditional school. So we had to get help for rides for him. He couldn't drive.
Mm-hmm.
So we had other friends and neighbors and other people picking him up and dropping him off, and because I had to have my butt in the seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a wild time, but I like a Zillow lead, they were like, "Yeah, I'm a truck driver. Can you meet me at 7 or 8 tonight?" And I would be like, "Absolutely." So I would
Mm-hmm.
like start supper. People, would have training or rehearsal or whatever after school, and I would come home and flip everybody's costumes, your
Mm-hmm.
school costume to your training costume or whatever you had to have. And I would start supper and I would tell John Durkin, my husband, I'd say best of luck. I hope this works out for you guys.
I
And then
mean,
I'd get in the car.
we have got to be some of the most fun people to be married to. Bless our husbands' hearts.
I've always thought it was very fun. Yeah.
I have a good time.
I'm having a ball. I didn't love the 7 to 8 p.m. Tuesday night showing. I'll be honest, an
Oh
hour away,
no,
but
that's brutal. But we've all done that. I mean, like I negotiated an inspection repair 24 hours after having a C-section. And I don't think
100%.
people realize that, like, yes, there's no cap on what you can earn. And maybe they see, like, oh, you're seeing kind of the victory lap, or they're like, oh, my life now. But there was a lot of sacrifice involved. So, okay, let's jump to Powerhouse. Like, how did you find Powerhouse? How did you find me? Like, what was going through your brain when you're like, who's this girl on Instagram?
Well, I didn't. So fabulous story. I didn't really use Instagram. I'm way too old for that mess. I at the
You're in
time
Alabama making supper, going by Mary Reed.
carrying my pocketbook. Don't even
Uh-huh.
start with me. Yeah, I'm over here swinging a double name. I didn't have time for Instagram.
I really did have a friend growing up, and her name was Sarah Jane, but we really all just called her Sarah. Only her mom called her Sarah Jane.
That's horrible.
I, but now I'm wondering if I was have been offensive my entire life
Yes, you need
without
to reach out to
realizing.
her
I need to
immediately,
reach out to her mother and apologize.
immediately, and to her. That's
I'm
horrible.
going
I
to call
think
her from now on. I'm calling her Sarah Jane.
correct, and we will refer to her often. I spent my whole life, my mom, I was too like embarrassed to do it, but my mom would say, "Actually, it's Mary Reed. It's a double name. We made it difficult." And I was always horrified. I wanted to like disappear, make it not happen. And until I went to school and I went through Rush and in my very first Rush event, I was like, "Actually, it's Mary
It's
Reed."
Mary Reed.
Yeah, I
We all
did.
turn into our mothers. I love it. I'm here
Correct.
for it.
Um,
So you don't run into me on Instagram because you're not using Instagram. How'd you even find out about Powerhouse then?
I think, well, so I was on Facebook and I had an Instagram account, but when I became serious about, I was laughing about this story yesterday. The man who ran our brokerage hired a broker for my particular office who turned out to not have any real estate experience. That was unfortunate situation. And she like kind of wasn't around. She like wouldn't be there. We didn't have sales meetings often. So the training, the lender information, all that stuff we weren't getting. And the day they had finally heard that this was happening, they let her go. And our office admin quit as well the same morning, not knowing that these things were
Wow.
gonna,
Yeah.
it was wow, because then there were like 12 of us. So many people had left our office because we didn't have support. And I was sitting there and we were all just like, I mean, there's probably 12 of us looking at each other like,
Y- What's next?
who do we
What
call
now?
now? Like what? And the big pitch was that you're going to be in here. It's this team. You got all these resources and our name and all these things. And that day I came home and I told John and I was like, this is crazy. And
Hmm.
when you speak about things, your phone either hears you or you just will it into existence. And
Hmm.
I understood that there had to be a different option. I knew, like, I wasn't
Yeah.
ignorant. I was just, when I started this, ignorant to real estate, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm smart. I have a master's in communication. I worked a big corporate job. I ran a nonprofit.
Yeah.
I've been training these people for all these years. It wasn't that I was ignorant, it's that I had to learn about this industry, right?
Yeah.
So I understood that there were other options. I knew that I'd been told cloud brokerages were crazy. They had no support. You wouldn't have training. There was no guarantee they'd even be open tomorrow. How do you know it's legitimate? You're going to just see people on the screen. And then you popped up on my screen. And I was like, hmm. I remember telling you on our first phone call, I was like, oh, you seem real. You're answering direct questions. That's positive. But I think I willed it into my phone, and I would start to see you, and you would
Mhm.
say whatever your message was that day, and I would send it to John Durkin, and I would say, I told you, I I think
Yeah.
I think this is
I
real.
think she's real.
Oh my God. So I would send it and send it and send it every morning as I was getting ready and up to go to train. And I, one day he finally just screamed, he's like, stop sending me the videos of this woman. And I laugh about it all the time. And I was like, okay, so probably I should reach out, huh? So
But I feel like
eventually,
wasn't John on our phone call?
no, no.
Because I feel like John Durkin has always been like a
He's
character
always been
along.
on he loves a good
Yeah.
powerhouse call. He loves
Oh,
a good, like, break it down call.
and I
But
feel like people probably listening to this are like, how do y'all know? Like I could tell you about Mary Reed's kids. I could tell you about
yeah.
Mary Reed's husband and
Well, I
all the
think
things.
that's how I actually think I identified with you because you had a gaggle of children. Everybody was a kind of at a different phase, right? You had littles, you had bigs, and I've kind of felt like, okay, so at least she
We're
gets like,
spinning all these plates.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
like at her house, I guess all these people also need dinner.
Yeah.
That happens at my house, like every single day. Everyone, what are we eating for supper?
Yeah.
So I think I identified with you, and I think I figured it out because you were speaking to me. Yeah, I want to
Hmm.
make more money. I want to grow my business. I don't really have anyone telling me how to do that. But
Hmm.
wait, so then also I could do it on this platform that I don't really get, but I figured out how to sell houses. I didn't really get that either. It turns out they didn't really cover that in the course. So I like can walk a plot and like, tell you about a plot
Oh,
map, but I don't know
I mean, the
anything
things
about,
you learn in real time. I mean, honestly,
oh
like
my God.
it you're like what like in the field, so to speak. And I'll tell you, I mean, Powerhouse has been a lifesaver for me on that. I don't know if you know this, but there was a time I had like a multi-million-dollar listing. I had an offer come in, and I'm experienced at this point, right? But I also
Right.
know where my weaknesses are, right? Which I think is the magic of Powerhouse is like, you know, who is like the marketing brain, you know, who is the spreadsheet brain,
100%.
you know what I mean? Like you kind of know. And so an offer had come in, and let's say it came in at 5 p.m. and we need to respond by 9 p.m. They wanted a really quick response. This was back in, when the market was moving really fast.
Right.
And it was a big deal for me. And was looking over the contract, and me and my client were both going to the same wedding reception that night in 1 hour. You know what I mean? And I remember being like, okay, I really do need to look at this contract. I also need to be at this wedding reception, and my client is also at the wedding reception.
Right.
And I texted on like the Powerhouse Elites thread. This is agents doing north of 7 million, and I'm like, hey, I would just love if I could get a few more eyeballs on this contract to like read through it and tell me how we should structure our counter
Yeah,
offer,
what am I
which
missing? What is
I know
right?
sounds crazy. And it's not that I didn't know how to structure my counter offer. I just wanted it to be the best counter offer I had ever written in my whole life. And I thought, well, why don't I just ask other agents in other markets to put their brains on it? And it was Layla Modetz, who's in Florida, which so then means it is now 8 or 9 o'clock her time.
The dead
but
of night.
she has but she has an accounting brain. She is like a numbers brain, and she had some good insights. Okay, why don't you structure the numbers like this, because that makes this, and I was like, perfect, thank you so much. And it's not that I necessarily wouldn't have thought of that. It's that life was happening alongside this offer coming in, and like she didn't need to do that, but things like that happen all the time inside Powerhouse.
And that's one of the unique things that I kind of picked up, I think, from first seeing you. I was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so she's at this game, right? But she also just sold this house. So how did that work out?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was a huge pain point for me. I have three boys who didn't miss an activity. If it
Mm-hmm.
was offered and there was a sign-up sheet, we signed it, and some of them signed it twice. And we participated. We sing and dance all over the place. We play soccer, we
Mm-hmm.
perform, we do TV film. Like we did it all. And I missed so much of that. And it
Mm-hmm.
was a real pain point.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, I remember saying to my brokerage, I'm leaving town. I am going to go to New Orleans with my son, and I am going to watch every minute of every game this kid plays. And he was
Mm-hmm.
little. I mean, he was in third or fourth grade. And I just
Yeah.
remember being so sad. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
what he loved. I know your kids do the same. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so special to get to see your kid do what they
Mm-hmm.
love. And I had
Mm-hmm.
missed so much, and I was so frustrated. So I think
Well,
that,
there's a thing in real estate where, and I think 2020 was like the great divide, and I mean, I'd been working from home for 10 years prior to 2020, but
right?
after 2020, it was like you could admit that you had kids. Like, I mean, remember all those videos where like these guys are on the news and their toddler comes walking into the video, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
welcome to my world, buddy.
We
Like,
had to
I mean,
like, yeah, we had to not worry about that. My first Zoom in COVID coincided with a voice lesson, super quiet. And John had a call, and we hadn't figured out, like, we hadn't allocated desk space or like internet usage. So we hadn't built an infrastructure so that 200 people could be on the internet at the same time.
right.
And we could be running an Xbox ring in our basement. So it was like bananas. I mean, people would get cut off calls. Some kid was trying to learn Spanish in his bedroom by himself. Some kid was singing at the top of his lungs. Some kid had four kids in the basement with an Xbox, and John was like, I'm going to have to just take this call.
Yeah.
And I ended up in a closet,
Hmm.
literally in a
Hmm.
closet.
Oh, I've negotiated deals inside my master bedroom closet behind three locked
Correct.
doors. Like the bedroom door, the bathroom door, the closet door.
But I
Three.
kind of love it. Like it's my
And
real life.
but I think that's the thing that like we could stop hiding that, which was really nice. And I'll tell you, it was scary for me to share that like on Instagram of like, hey, I'm at a ball game. Also, I have 5 listings pending, or I've put
Right.
X amount, under contract, because it was like you could only show up as like this. I mean, I don't know. Like, and it was also scary to say that I was working part-time hours, because they would assume that meant you were a part-time agent. But I was like,
Right.
well, my neighbor that's an orthodontist doesn't work on Fridays, and everyone says he's brilliant. And if I tell you I don't work on Fridays, I'm not committed. And it's like, no,
Blasphemy. Right.
I'm actually just efficient,
Right.
smart.
I think that's the two things. I think it's the male, female, and I think it's also like the established, you can see his office, you're just at
Yeah.
home by the pool or whatever is the stereotype, right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I've negotiated some of my best deals by the pool.
Oh, I'm very effective. Like during a summer house episode, please make me get involved. Yeah, I do. It was so attractive to see that. And then through that interaction or just seeing you, I think I started engaging with you when you would post something about a kid. I can remember football games and saying, that's awesome. I remember your oldest being, really locked into the gym and his gym time. And I thought that was great. I'm raising three boys. Like I have similar experiences here.
Mhm.
Identified with that. But then through following you, right, because of the way it all works and
Mhm. Yeah.
the interwebs, I started seeing other people. Autumn Saniza was one of my first friends from Powerhouse, and we exchange a note daily to this day.
I
Um,
love that.
and Desiree was like
Oh,
we just started talking all the time. We're going on vacation together in October, our families. Like it's just it was and she lives in quite
Spokane,
literally
Washington, the
the
opposite end of the
opposite.
country.
Right. I mean, it's just a funny, and I have actually just received a call from an agent before this, and I've got to find a furnished place in New York for a client. So now I've got my EXP referral source there. Like it's a wild difference. But the things that I was penalized for before, right? My
Mhm.
boat not being in my seat, a referral. I made a reel about this a long time ago. At my previous brokerage, if I worked with an out-of-state referral from anyone, doesn't
Mhm.
matter if it was my mom sending me,
A
her
childhood best friend. Yeah.
correct, doesn't matter. They charged me 50% of my deal.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a lot.
Turns out 50 is half. Yeah, that was a whole lot because you do all of the work, right, that you would
Hmm.
do on
Hmm.
your own transaction. I paid a 50% referral on my sorority sister.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
It was a lot. Never mind like the updated paperwork and all the things, right? So you're working
Hmm.
10 times more on that deal than you would be just if
Yeah.
you helped your sorority sister and you found the great house and you moved them in. It was just a wild model. So it was so appealing. I built all these friendships, I built all these relationships. But like you said, not everyone's a marketing expert. Some people are
Mhm.
very number specifics. Not everyone's great with numbers are not my jam. I came to you today with all kinds of math.
Yeah.
But in real life, that's not my gift. I love the people piece. I love like
Hmm.
understanding what you need. I love that piece. And there's all those people here too. And bringing everyone under that umbrella is what makes this room so special. And it's why it changes your production, it changes your business. You learn where you suck,
Hmm.
right?
Well, and also you don't, but you learn like where your weakness is,
Right?
but it also makes it so you don't panic that that's your weakness because someone else in the room, that is their strength. And
Correct.
so they just kind of plug that hole for you and say, well, here's the system that you need.
And it's the beauty of our meeting strategy as well, in my opinion. Being able to say either in the chat or unmute myself and be like, gals, do you remember the day I said, gals, I need help? I rushed into an elites meeting on a Thursday in a panic when I said, we've just gone through a walkthrough. The house is full of everything, dishes in the dishwasher, laundry in the washing machine,
Uh-huh.
and the seller has just gone to prison and will be there overnight.
Oh my gosh, I remember this. Oh, we,
Might there be someone on this call who could advise me about how to proceed? And someone said immediately, yes, this has happened to me. We can speak. And then said, this has actually happened twice to me. She goes, please don't think ill of my clientele. And I laughed so hard. But I mean, ironically, it was a $2 million deal.
well, things like that happen. And that's the other thing too, is it's like not only do you have like the powerhouse room and kind of our back end system where we can chat and message each other quite easily, but I think like have you ever had a problem getting a hold of your broker? And I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm asking you blindly. But like I feel like for the most part, when you have, 5 or 10 brokers to get a hold of, everyone I've ever talked to, like it's been easier to get a hold of them.
Our so in our my previous office, they switched brokers once a year. You
Oh.
never could get anyone. You never could get an answer back. It was a huge frustration. The thing that sealed the deal, when I figured out you were real, that was all nice and good, but you're in Arizona. So
Mhm.
for me, that was so foreign. I was like, well, this is great. I can reach out to Amy all the time or anytime or no times. But like she's so far away. I couldn't figure out how that worked because I didn't have a frame of reference for that.
Yeah.
The broker in Alabama, we had two brokers I met when I joined, or when
Hmm.
I was even considering joining. Amy, they are so phenomenal
Mhm.
We used to joke when some other agents moved with me, our phones would go off if we were together at 4 o'clock on Friday. And it was them telling us who was on duty this weekend. This is the best cell to call. Don't worry. We'll all, in an emergency, you can call the other broker. And we all would just look at each other like, what?
Is this what it's like? This is what a business looks like?
It was wild. And we call we call a broker when we need them. But this room of resources, plus that room of resources, plus our online, it's rare that we have like a real code red freak out, I need a broker right away moment where
Yeah.
that was the case more often
Yeah.
before. But our broker here is, I hesitate to say it, but is such a badass.
Yeah.
There is not a moment like she's just a badass.
I love that. So
I do too.
tell me, like, if you could go back in time to Mary Reed sitting in that office and who's feeling a little bit nervous and she's sitting on the fence, what would you say to her now?
Oh God, I wish you had just trusted your gut sooner. I mean, it's a common refrain in Powerhouse. So everyone you ever speak with, I know says this, but like Julie Ford, Jenny Mitchell, all of us, Desi, I mean, all of us have said that to each other, I think, at one point or another, because like, so I've done, compared to my last year at my old brokerage, 85% more volume year over year,
Wild.
112% more net income.
That's
So
wild.
it, isn't it? So it went from a 92K year, my last year, to 194K year. I have
That
three college age kids.
yeah, you need every dollar.
Fairly meaningful. Fairly meaningful here, ma'am.
If you know, you know. And if you don't
Correct.
know, now you know.
Start planning. But if I had had, like, what if I'd had that income going into college year?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
if it's impactful. When you add that, I mean, that's 100 grand, roughly.
Well, and like the financial wins are huge, but it's really like it that's not the only win because the relationships are I can't put a price tag on.
So funny. I mean, I just came from the Rise Retreat that we
Mhm.
had in Phoenix, Scottsdale. And, I stayed in a house with all these friends I talk to all the time, like Kim and
On the
Morgan. I mean,
internet. Yeah.
yeah, all my online friends. But it's funny because we do take it offline. I mean, this is online and
Hmm.
we talk all the time on,
Hmm.
okay. I think I may be too old for voice memos. I'm not good at those, but we're going to work on it. If I can figure this Instagram out like a champ,
You got this.
I can voice memo. I'm like the boss that I am. But I'm not great at them. I do a voice memo like, "Hey, Amy, it's me, Mary Reed." Like, anyway, and then I say, "Anyway, have a great day. Okay, bye."
Yep.
Um, but yeah, my one of my very best friends from this entire experience is Canadian. We talk every single day.
Natalie.
Yeah. I mean, is
She's
that
the
a hoot
greatest.
or what? Like her
No.
kids were graduating this week. Like we've been talking all day. She's a wreck. But I
Oh, I
mean,
need
it's
to voice memo her.
just say, yeah, thinking about
Yeah.
you. It's a
Well,
big
it's hard when they're
transition.
twins.
Yeah, she's like, so what happens now? Everyone's gone.
It's a double whammy.
They're going to be down the street playing football for the college that she and her husband went to. So
Oh,
they're
I
so
love that.
excited about that. But yeah, like
But
who would
that's
have
how
thought?
but that's how real it is. And sometimes it's hard to like put that on a website. Like, hey, yeah, like we all actually like each other.
And you don't get that in a real traditional brokerage because even though they say, "Oh my God, you have these great resources in here," the first time I asked the top agent in our office for assistance, I was like, could I take you to lunch and
Hmm.
just talk to you about how to get started?" She looked at me like I was crazy. She didn't want to, why would she teach me how to take her clients?
Yeah. Because it doesn't make financial sense for her to do that, you
Right,
know?
right.
Um, and so and then people are like offended by it. And I'm like, well, why would she teach you how to compete with her? It just doesn't make sense.
And a big
Like that's a
success.
valid response
But
from
I
her.
didn't get it, right? Because the pitch was you have
Yeah.
all these people
Oh,
to
we're
help
all one big
you.
happy family. And I'm like,
Right.
well, the math doesn't math.
They ran a television in every room of this office. like a huge TV on the wall of everyone's numbers, right? And
Wow.
my first sale was a couple that a lender I'd met had introduced me to. We drove around in tornadoes all day long. Like we had to get out, get in a ditch, get back in the car. We went to houses and you couldn't use the E key because all the power was out and there was no service. It was crazy. It was my first
I
transaction.
can't even relate to like driving through tornadoes. So I'm still at the part about getting out in a ditch.
Well, that's just what you do. So you get with your pocketbook and while you're planning your supper. But we got in the ditch. We would go, and I mean, it was about a 5.5 hour just straight commute. So it was like about a 10-hour day, about a 9.5 hour day in the horrible weather. And I was so excited. I came in and I was like, I did it. We're gonna ride it off there. And I was like beside myself. And the number went on the screen at my office. I was like $150,000 house on like acreage, like outside of the city. And they were so excited. So it made me even more excited. I was just so happy. It was exactly what they
Yeah.
wanted. And they were cute and they were young and they were moving states. And like when I saw like, 10 million under this gal's name ahead of me and then $150,000. And everyone was like, oh. And I was like, oh. It
Yeah.
it was so defeating. And
Hmm.
if I sold a rock and I came to Powerhouse meeting on Tuesday or Elites on Thursday, and I said, you guys, you'll never believe it. It was such a tough sale, but I sold this rock this week. Everyone would go bananas. And the saved chat would say, oh my God, Mary, that's amazing. You're awesome. Stick with it. Go sell another rock this
Hmm.
week. The difference is just, it's tangible. And
Hmm.
I mean, a
Well,
hundred,
everyone starts somewhere. You have to start somewhere.
that's right. And I'm so grateful I
And
did
that
because I wouldn't know.
$150,000 house turns into 8 million in production.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have known to
Hmm.
appreciate all of these things that I don't take for granted now, systems that I had no idea I needed.
Yeah.
And Instagram that, let's make a
Hmm.
reel. Now I can do that. Um, all these things that I didn't understand were powerful, but that
Yeah.
changed. I mean, Instagram is a great tool. It finally showed my audience, my friends, what I was doing, that I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
It was great.
Mary Reed, thank you so much for joining us today on
Thank
the
you.
Powerhouse Effect. Like, honestly, I always say this Powerhouse, like the surprise of my life. And so much of it is because I get to meet, like, I never would have been able to work with Mary Reed, which is like wild not having Mary Reed in my life. If her story sounds familiar, that's because it probably is. And this is what happens inside of Powerhouse. If you're a solo female agent doing 3 to 5 million in production and you've been wondering if there's a better way to build, there is. We would love for you to come find out what the Powerhouse Effect feels like for you. And if this episode hit home, share it with one agent who needs to hear it. That's how we grow this community. I'm Amy Gregory. This is Mary Reed, and we will see you next week.